They didn't come with warships. They didn't need to. They came with masks, cloaks, and ceremonial knives carved from the bones of extinct stars. They walked upright, tall, their posture proud, their armor ceremonial, their words drenched in old blood and tradition. They called it the Hunt. The girl had no name the galaxy would remember. She was 17, daughter of an Earth diplomat stationed at the neutral world of Crix, 4, a trading hub monitored by the Galactic Compact. She had no enemies, no crimes, no rank, just a love for sketching stars and a habit of walking alone past curfew. She disappeared during her morning run. Security footage showed nothing but static. The council dismissed it as a glitch. Her father filed a report. Then he filed 20 more. Then he stopped filing and started preparing for her funeral. But Earth didn't stop looking, and neither did she. She awoke in a metallic cage, blindfolded, restrained, her air thin, her body bruised. She heard laughter. It was guttural, alien, mocking. The Varn, predators, by nature and by choice. A species of hunters whose nobility was determined by their kill history. They hunted each other for adolescence, beasts for training, and lesser species for entertainment. The Compact allowed it under cultural immunity laws, so long as the victims weren't important. She wasn't, so the Varn chose her, not for strategy, not for science, but because they were bored. The hunt began on an unnamed moon, forest-covered, gravity-tilted, ringed with surveillance drones and atmospheric disruptors. No ships could land. No signals could escape. The rules were simple. She would be released. She would be given a 3-minute head start. If she lasted 24 hours, they'd let her go. None ever did. But she wasn't none. The girl ran. Not with grace. Not with training. But with the panic of someone who refused to become entertainment. Her lungs burned. Her bare feet bled. Her thoughts collapsed into instinct. She found shelter in a broken tree, drank from a sulfur-laced stream, wrapped her wounds with vine and desperation. They hunted her with elegance, with night vision, with laughter. They whispered each other in ultrasonic tones, mocking, confident, cruel. But they made a mistake. They cornered her too soon. She hadn't had time to give up yet. When the third hunter leapt from a branch, she rolled beneath him, not to fight but to fall. Down a ravine, into shadow. She broke her arm, reset it with a stick, kept moving. By hour 12, she was hallucinating, but she kept moving. By hour 16, she was poisoned, cut by a spore vine, fevered, dizzy, vomiting, but she kept moving. By hour 20, they found her again, 3 Varn, blades drawn, laughing. They circled. She didn't scream. She stood, shaking, bleeding with eyes swollen shut. She said one thing, "You should have killed me earlier." And then she lunged. Not for them, for the drone, one of their observation units. She tackled it, ripped its panel open with her broken fingers, tore the power core free, and slammed it into the lead hunter's throat. He died, making no sound. The other 2 didn't laugh after that. She ran again, barefoot, with a blade in her hand and blood in her mouth. At hour 23, she collapsed. The remaining hunters closed in, but she didn't need to win. She only needed to endure. The horn sounded. 24 hours. The hunt was over. Tradition demanded they let her go, but the Varn were not bound by rules. They beat her, crushed her ribs, marked her with the hunter's brand, then dropped her half-dead on a freighter bound for the nearest Earth consulate. No apology, no message, just coordinates and words. She was demusing. She didn't wake for 8 days. Her father wept when she opened her eyes. She didn't. Her first words were, "They don't get to laugh." The footage from the drone, ripped from her clenched hands, was all Earth needed. It showed everything. The masks, the ritual, the knives, the abuse, the laughter, the arrogance. Earth brought it to the council, demanded justice. The Varn ambassador chuckled in full chamber. He bowed, slow and theatrical. What is prey if not part of the game? The council did nothing. They cited cultural immunity. They dismissed the case. They told Earth to let it go. Earth did, publicly, quietly. They erased the closest Varn colony within a month. Orbital strike. No warning. No trace. No survivors. No broadcasts. The Council accused Earth of retaliation. Earth denied it, calmly, blankly, and then Earth said something that froze the chamber. We'll consider the matter resolved when the laughing stops. The Varn stopped laughing, but it was too late, because Earth had stopped talking and started hunting. The first Varn death didn't make headlines. It wasn't flashy. There was no confrontation, just a corpse found in a border port, one of their lesser nobles, throat crushed, data core missing, spine removed. The second came a week later. A convoy of 5 Varn gunships vanished in transit. Recovered black boxes showed nothing but a flicker of an unauthorized signal burst. Then silence. No distress calls. No debris fields. The Council demanded answers. Earth gave none. They sent no fleets. No war declarations. Not a single soldier in uniform. But the Varn kept dying. Their outposts flickered out like embers. By the time the 3rd Varn moon colony failed to check in, their high clade began to panic. They called for aid. Their allies hesitated. Fear spreads fast in the dark. The girl, no longer a girl, spent those years in silence. She recovered, but not like they hoped. Her voice didn't return for months, but her memory sharpened. She didn't see doctors. She saw instructors, not therapists, strategists. The first thing she asked for when she could speak again was to learn languages, code, patterns, not revenge, precision. She didn't want to kill the Varn. She wanted to understand them, what they hunted, why they laughed, how they moved, how they died. Earth gave her clearance beyond military grade. She trained in shadows. Her name was erased from records. Facial prints deleted. DNA scrubbed from open databases. She became someone the galaxy never tracked, but always feared. The Varn started suspecting. When their Star Corps engineers began vanishing. When their border stations turned to ash. When their hunting lodges, once filled with trophies, were found empty, lights blinking, walls marked with slashes that no forensic team could identify. No survivors. No evidence. Just one repeated pattern. One breath. One kill. No sound. The Varn declared Earth an enemy. It didn't matter. By then, their own soldiers refused to patrol. Entire battalions defected. Ships arrived at stations with every crewman's throat cut. No alarms. No breach. Just results. The High Clade hired mercenaries. The mercenaries disappeared. They built traps. The traps triggered themselves. They tried to flee to outer sectors, hiding among fringe civilizations. But everywhere they ran, someone was waiting, because Earth had no patience. They had resolve. It wasn't just revenge. It was clarity. You don't hunt humans for sport. Not anymore. And not ever again. By the second year of the Quiet War, the Varn Empire had lost 12 strongholds, 19 outposts, and every forward base near human territory. But no human warships were seen. No armies landed. The Varn were being hunted by ghosts. Because Earth hadn't sent soldiers. They had sent her. No one knew her name. But the Varn gave her one. The Wounded Blade. The scarred girl who had escaped their hunt, only become a blade that slit their legacy wide open. Story spread. A figure in black, appearing in flash glimpses on security feeds, vanishing before guards could react. Of drones sliced midair. Of entire rooms losing gravity for a second, long enough for a knife to float into the heart of a target. Of a voice, barely a whisper. Did you laugh? The Varn elders held their final council on the fortress world of Draxus. 4,000 elite warriors, planetary shields, automated cannons. It lasted 13 hours. By sunrise, the sky was on fire, not from bombs, from failing systems. One by one, the power grid cracked. The cannons turned on their own command towers. The atmosphere cycling choked itself. And then she arrived, not from orbit, from inside. They never figured out how. The footage was never found. But every Varn noble on Draxus died in a single hour, some from poison, some from exposure, some from panic-induced cardiac failure, and one, the huntmaster who scarred her, from a blade through the chest while he begged for breath. No ceremony, no vengeance speech, just the silence he once mocked her with, and then the message Earth had waited 2 years to send. We accept your surrender. Posthumously. The council couldn't protest. Not officially, because nothing was confirmed. No footage, no signatures, no war, just results, and silence, and the absence of laughter. The last recorded Varn ship tried to flee to the edge of the galactic void. It didn't make it far. Its emergency beacon activated once, then flickered out. No one retrieved the wreckage. No one wanted to, because by then everyone understood. You do not hunt humans. You do not laugh at their pain. You do not turn a daughter into prey. Because humanity will not send diplomats. They will not send pleas. They will send silence. And behind that silence, they will send her. There was no declaration of extinction, just absence. The Varn species once stretched across 4 sectors. They had ruled with silence and sharpened honor. Now, their frequencies were quiet. Their markets were empty, their vessels forgotten in orbital drift, drifting in dead space with lights flickering, air recycled endlessly for no lungs. The galaxy noticed, but it didn't ask, because no one wanted to hear Earth's answer. Not officially, not when entire Varn words were erased from NAV archives without explanation, not when ancient hunting trophies, the ones taken from prey species, were returned, cleaned, boxed, labeled, delivered by anonymous drones. By the 3rd year, Varn ruins had become warnings. Uninhabited systems whispered of her, of the ghost who moved without ships, the shadow who hunted without hate, the scarred human who never blinked, never forgave, and never stopped. She wasn't a myth, just an inevitability. Other predator species took note. Some laughed at first. The Rovek, known for their arena gladiators, mocked Earth's fury, until their gladiator breeding rings exploded within a synchronized 30 seconds. 12 across 3 systems. No survivors. The Korean collective tried to contract bounty hunters to capture the Earthblade. The bounty boards went offline the next morning. No hack, no trace, just a message burned into the job listings. Prey doesn't forget. The galaxy's mood changed. Humans were no longer seen as unpredictable primitives or sentimental diplomats. They were seen as something worse. Principled. They didn't escalate. They didn't colonize. They didn't retaliate without reason. But when given one, they didn't stop. The girl, now a woman, operated without a name, without a chain of command. Not rogue, not military. She was sanctioned by silence. Earth's last communication on the Varn matter had been simple. She's not our weapon. She's our answer. Her presence spread like radiation. No images, just aftermaths. Stations found with every light removed. Airlocks welded from the outside. Crew logs overwritten with a heartbeat sound that didn't stop for 7 minutes. She didn't leave messages. She left understanding that humans were not invincible, not immortal, not even dominant, but they were done being prey. And the galaxy began to believe it. Trade routes realigned. Neutral stations began installing biometric locks keyed only to human stress signatures, because if one ever panicked, the station shut down. Better safe than gone. A rumor began spreading in backwater systems and fringe colonies that she was more than human now, that the void had spoken to her, that she had died during the hunt, and what came back was a whisper wrapped in blood and memory. It wasn't true. She bled like anyone else, but she didn't break. Not anymore. On her 4th anniversary, she returned to the moon where it started, where she had been hunted. The planet was barren. No Varn patrols. No motion. She walked its surface in silence. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just stood where she had once bled, once screamed, once begged the sky to help. And she planted something. Not a weapon. A tree. Genetically engineered to grow in that cursed soil. one that would stand for decades, its leaves red, its roots deep, the plaque at its base read, "I was not prey, I was promise." She left without fanfare. The feeds never caught her arrival, but the tree lived, and those who visited, very few, very quietly, understood what it meant. She wasn't asking the galaxy to change. She was reminding it that some wounds don't scar. They sharpen, because extinction wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about balance. Every council race reviewed its records. Every ruling species combed through old traditions. Every predator culture quietly archived their rights, just in case. Because maybe the girl wasn't the only one watching. Maybe Earth had others. Maybe every human child born after the Varn massacre would be raised not with hatred, but with remembrance of how close the galaxy had come to making prey of the wrong species. The Council sent a message to Earth on the 5th anniversary of the hunt, a formal apology. Too late. Earth didn't respond. The silence was understood, because silence now was human language. It meant, "We heard you. We remember. Don't test our memory again." She had no title, no medal, no statue. Earth didn't speak her name, but everyone else did. They whispered it on smuggler routes, murmured it in war-torn colonies, scrawled on the sides of cargo hulls in silent prayer or warning. A face no one had seen, a figure whose only known feature was a scar down her jaw, carved by a laughing alien who no longer existed. Her legend moved faster than light, not because she killed, but because she ended lineages, entire bloodlines, noble houses, hunt-born dynasties that once were the screams of prey like crowns. Gone, erased without war. No firestorms, no treaties, just silence that came after a flicker in power, a door that wouldn't open, a last scream never heard, and then stillness. The galaxy began to shift around her myth. For the first time in galactic history, predator species filed for cultural reform, hunt traditions abandoned, rite of passage duels outlawed. Even the Compact rewrote its immunity clauses. The clause allowing non-lethal predatory rights was dissolved quietly, not for ethics, for fear, because they knew Earth would never send another message. She was the last one, the final warning. She didn't want war. She wanted peace with memory, a peace the predators never offered her. Now, they would live with the echo of what they'd done, or vanish. She never returned to Earth, not because she couldn't, because she wouldn't. Her place wasn't in gardens and monuments. It was in the cracks of civilizations that still hadn't learned, in the shadow ports where the rich paid for pain, in the ancient sectors where screams still echoed in the dark, where she could finish what the Varn started. The Compact, under pressure, issued a bounty not to kill her, to find her. She saw it, smiled. The bounty was withdrawn a week later. Everyone on the bounty's review board vanished in a synchronized collapse of their internal oxygen recyclers. No alarms, just death by coincidence. No one tried again. Years passed. Worlds healed. The Varn homeworld, now just ash under a gravity well, was marked on all NAV maps with a red triangle, a warning, not a destination. People called it the Silence. No one colonized it. No one mined it. No one dared. The girl visited once. She stood at the ridge where the high Clades palace had been. Nothing remained but dust. She sat there for hours, alone, her hands tracing the dirt, the wind stirring her hair. She left behind one thing before departing, a knife, the same one she had taken from the first Varn to bleed for her, cleaned, sharpened, placed point down in the soil, as a marker, as a signature, not of hatred, but of completion. She didn't kill because she enjoyed it. She hunted because they had taught her what it meant to be hunted, and she had answered in the only language they truly understood. Finality, the galaxy learned, not to fear humans, but to respect the quiet ones, the ones who survive, the ones who don't forget, the ones who endure exile, pain, and silence, and come back without needing to scream, just to remind everyone, you thought it was a game. We don't play. By the time she disappeared for good, the stars had grown quieter. Predators had become farmers. Hunt ships were converted into rescue vessels. A new generation of aliens studied human literature, not for strategy, but for warning. And in every academic database, one quote always reappeared. She wasn't vengeance. She was proof. Proof that the galaxy had made the deadliest mistake it ever could. It hunted a human, and let her live,